Thank you, everybody. So I'm going on to the next symposium. Now, it is always said that we type 1 diabetics live balanced lives. We eat the proper diet, we have the right amount of exercise. So now this is not a very easy thing. It can get kind of tricky, and there is always a certain knack to it. It's always about doing it the right way. So this symposium is all about that, keeping fit, and also about that very particular thing, very effective one that we need to study, the essential trick that we need to study, that is carb counting. So I welcome you all to the next symposium, rightly named Food for Thought, and let me welcome Nupur Lalwani as a moderator of the next session.
Thank
Nupur.
you, Indu. Hi, everyone. I'm Nupur, and along with me is Sanjana, who is the chair of this session. So over to you.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon to everybody who is watching us. It gives me great pleasure to introduce this new symposium to you. Like Indu was saying, it's called Food for Thought. Let's quickly progress and introduce our first speaker for this symposium. So our first speaker is Dr. Anjana Mohan. She is a managing director of Dr. Mohan's Diabetes Specialist Center, which is a WHO collaboration center for non-communicable diseases prevention and control, and IDF Center for Education. She is also the vice president of Madras Diabetes Research Foundation, which is an ICMR center for advanced research on diabetes. Her main focus on research areas are prevention of diabetes, epidemiology, physical activity, transitional research, and metagenomics. She obtained her MBBS in 2002, first class with distinction. And she also has an MD, which she got in 2007. So Dr. Anjana has so many prizes and medals and fellowship that she has obtained. She has conferred with the prestigious fellowship of American College of Physicians from the American College of Physicians and fellowship of Royal College of Physicians. Over to you, Dr. Anjana. Please, and she'll be talking to us about diabetes and dancing today. So let's hear it from her.
And before that, I would really personally like to thank Dr. Anjana. Thank you for making time for doing this. And we're sorry that it took a little time, but we are very excited to hear you.
Thank you very much, Jazz. Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely.
Wonderful. So first of all, thank you, Sanjana, for that introduction. And Jazz, I'm really thrilled to be here. I've been listening to the previous session, and I've really enjoyed everything I've heard. So let's see if I can add any value here. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Wonderful. So Jazz has asked me to take you through briefly on dancing and diabetes. And I have no conflict of interest to declare. So when you look at physical activity in women, and I've been working on this for about 15 years now, and this is data from the ICMR INDIAB study, which stands for India Diabetes Study. It's a national study on diabetes, primarily type 2, but also type 1, but all looking at risk factors and complications across the country. It's representative of the country in terms of geography, population size, socioeconomic status, etc. So when you look at inactivity, and this is from 53,000 people across 15 states, look at men and women. Women are so much more inactive than men. And if you look at the number of people who do no recreational activity, or in other words, no exercise, that's one thing in which every state, it doesn't matter where you are, it's distinction and above. Okay, so exercise is pretty much something, when you sit in urban Chennai or Mumbai or Ahmedabad, you may not realize how much it is, how much of a struggle it is to get people to understand the concept of physical activity and exercise. So who meets the WHO guidelines of doing at least 150 minutes of moderate to vigorous physical activity a week? Well, in males, it's 10% and only 3% in females. And these are the actual figures that we have. So what happens then? Well, you get diabetes. Now, primarily, this is for type 2. And you can see clearly as activity levels decrease, your risk for diabetes increases. But there's also some evidence that we have with type 1. Now, what is the role of exercise in diabetes? Both for type 1 and type 2, we have some evidence to show there's more in type 2, little in type 1, but definitely there's enough evidence to show prevention of diabetes with exercise. If you have diabetes, again in type 1 and type 2, there's data to show it helps you bring your blood glucose under control and it helps to manage complications. So it has a kind of 360-degree effect in your glucose management. It has several additional benefits as well. It brings down total cholesterol, LDL, increases your good cholesterol or HDL, brings down triglycerides. So just a minute here to say that Asian Indians, we have a particular phenotype in which the HDL and triglyceride are slightly more important than the LDL. So exercise helps, works on both these components, brings down blood pressure, brings down body fat, weight, increases muscle mass, alleviates stress. It helps with bone health, and in fact, even prevents premature morbidity and mortality. So now what are the components of exercise? We have immediate effects that comes from aerobic exercise, and then you have long-term effects that are coming from resistance training. So aerobic exercise is all kinds of activity like running, dancing, cycling, etc. And you have immediate effects of bringing down blood glucose levels, which are kind of linked to how much and what type of exercise you're doing, whereas the long-term effects come from resistance training or muscle building. So now when you look at the effects on diabetes, like we said, in a type 2, there's not much acute change in glucose because of the availability of insulin inside the body. But in type 1, you can have a lot of fluctuation in your glucose levels depending on the type and intensity of exercise that you're doing, the carbohydrate intake before, during, and after exercise, and of course the insulin that you're injecting, the type of insulin, etc. And thus, these are the important points to note when a diabetic is doing any kinds of exercise. So the FIT principle is what we usually give as an exercise prescription for those with diabetes. Frequency at least 5 days a week, intensity moderate, type aerobic plus resistance for 30 to 45 minutes at a stretch. Now, in a diabetic, it's very important to individualize these regimens, grade them up slowly and see that they're well hydrated. Now, in a type 1, it's necessary to check blood glucose levels before exercise. If the sugar is more than 250 or 300, it's perhaps better not to exercise. Similar, if it's less than 50, it's perhaps not a good idea to exercise, and always carry a carbohydrate snack in case of prolonged activity. So again, a line of caution in those with diabetes and proliferative retinopathy, strenuous exercises of any sort, weightlifting, jogging, anything that is the Valsalva maneuver is probably discouraged. With nephropathy, high intensity activity, and there's a reason I'm telling you this, peripheral neuropathy, again, this is not so much for type 1s, but more for type 2. You lose kind of sensation on your feet, so you can't feel, so treadmill, jogging, etc. Be careful. Autonomic neuropathy, extremes of temperature, very, very important in type 1, very, very important in our country where it can get quite hot in the summers. So now we do know that exercise has benefits. So we looked at, in a real life situation, we took people who are high risk and did this prevention program called as DCLIP, the Diabetes Community Lifestyle Improvement Program, in which we gave a control group standard exercise supervised weekly sessions for 12 weeks, along with a particular diet, and looked at whether you could prevent diabetes. And in 2016, this was published and we showed a 32% risk reduction. So these are some of the exercise sessions. Just to note here, there is definitely male dominance in these sessions. So there's plenty of barriers to physical activity, and that is the reason. So from years of working with people trying to get them to exercise, especially women, now the women are the white bars, the excuses for not doing exercise are so many. You can just imagine any excuse and it's right there, time, place, feeling this thing. So whatever you want, women and exercise in this country still have very long way to go. So we found that we need certain features for an ideal physical activity for women and girls. It has to be innovative. It has to be interesting. It has to be sustainable. It has to take less time, very important for a woman. It has to be socially acceptable, right? And that again is very important, can be done at home. So, and it has to be fun for someone to be able to want to do it for a long period of time. So if you had an intervention that ticked all this, Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Tandav. So what is Tandav? Let me take you first through the concept of HIIT. Perhaps people in this group are already familiar with this, but this is a kind of high intensity interval training, which means that instead of doing 60 minutes of exercise or 30 minutes of exercise, you're able to compress the time taken by doing a higher intensity. So not everyone can do it in the beginning, but you can build this up over time. So there are periods of high intensity and low intensity, which can range from anything between 4 to 10, 15 minutes, depending on the intensity that you can do. So this is HIIT. It targets all the kind of types of activity. There's aerobic, there's strength, there's flexibility. It can be built up. It doesn't require any equipment. And it basically is a good thing for fat burning and cardiovascular fitness. Now, what about dancing? I don't have to say anything to this group about dancing. We have Jazz here and a whole group of enthusiasts, but it's a great form of physical activity that has potential benefits, not only just on diabetes, but on cardiovascular health. It helps endurance, and more than anything else, I think dance has a feel-good, fun factor that keeps you really happy. And hopefully that is what will help to stimulate long-term sustainability of the intervention. So when we decided to merge dance and HIIT, we came up with a novel intervention that was called Tandav. So what we did here is we developed this intervention with the help of choreographers from the South Indian cinema industry. And we then decided that we got funded to try these as a pilot on to see whether there was proof of concept. Did it actually do what it had to do? Did it help to increase the heart rate? Was there fat burn, etc.? So we developed this protocol. We tried this on 23 young girls. So we started with younger girls because it's easier to kind of build. The exercise levels are so abysmally low in our population that it takes time for people to build up that level of fitness. So it is easier in younger girls. So adolescent girls aged 10 to 17 years. The other reason is that we felt that something like this, once you kind of develop behavior in teenage and adolescence, make it socially acceptable, hopefully it's something that will stick on for life. So we looked at heart rates, VO2 max, the ability to perform, event rates, etc. Not taking you through this boring data, just to tell you that we did reach high intensity. We reached it right by the first dance. And so we basically have 4 dances. So each dance is 2 minutes. Each is a different Bollywood kind of dance. 2 minutes, 30-second gap, 2 minutes high, 30-second low, and it goes on like that for a period of 10 minutes. So the novelty of this project was that it's the first time we've introduced HIIT into dance forms, and that to Bollywood dance forms. We've done this now all across the world. We've been to UK, we've been to Australia, we've been to many, many places. It targets women and girls. It's a socially and culturally acceptable intervention. It has short time needed. It can be done in any setting, including home. It's a technology-aided solution, and hopefully it will have long-term sustainability and scalability, including cardiovascular benefits, and will help in NCD prevention. And that is, as a physician, my interest in this area. So let me just take you through a short video about what Tandav is about.
We all know that exercise is very, very essential for good health. If you look at the difference between men and women, women are way more inactive than men. This gives them excess risk of obesity and all kinds of other metabolic diseases. So how do you now make activity a part of a woman's life? We realize that we have to start young. The World Health Organization report states that 1 in 3 adolescents is obese. Scientific evidence also suggests that adolescence is the time for steepest decline in physical activity. We wanted to ignite a sense of self-creation, flow, and energy through a concept that has never been seen, heard, or experienced before, a concept around dance. High-intensity interval training, or HIIT for short, is a form of aerobic physical activity wherein there are very intense but short periods of activity which produces metabolic benefits. So we then thought, what if we marry dance and HIIT together to produce an intervention which we call Tandav.
choreographer many movies choreograph பண்ணிருக்கேன் ஈவென்ட்ஸ் choreograph பண்ணிருக்கேன் ஆனா ஃபர்ஸ்ட் டைம் ஒரு choreograph மூலியமா ஒருத்தருடைய ஹெல்த் வந்து ஆரோக்கியமா வச்சுக்க முடியும்ட்டு டாக்டர் அஞ்சனா மேம் மீட் பண்ணதுக்கு அப்புறம் தான் எனக்கு புரிஞ்சது.
Thandar, inspired by Shiv Thandar, which is a very active and aggressive form of dancing. Our Thandar is all about dance, fitness, disease prevention, and technology, all in tandem to deliver a customized outcome for adolescent girls. When I saw the post-performance results of various tests done on girls, it was a perfect validation for me as a fitness professional. We have worked on various projects, but this one is different. Hours of practice and openness to listen to each other. So purpose met intent, intent met action,
Action met teamwork.
teamwork met performance, and performance met purpose again.
Thank you. That's me.
Thank you, Dr. Anjana. That was wonderful and really, really enjoyable to watch.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I think I did stay on time. So
Absolutely on point. So, quick question. In fact, I must say, as a woman living with diabetes, this is really wonderful, that you've taken up this initiative, and it's so inspiring because, as for me, I have two left feet and I can't dance, but put me on a trail and I can walk 100 kilometers. But I understand this is a concern that women have, and it was really wonderful. But a quick question about hypos. What would you suggest in terms of, exercise and hypos? How do we deal with that?
So this is more of a problem for, say, type 1s than it would be for a type 2. So always, like I said before, start with checking your blood glucose before the exercise level, because as a type 1, you could have hypo unawareness. You may absolutely be not. So if it's, let's say, less than 50, I would wait till it becomes, say, 100, 150 before you even attempt something like this. And if it's also very high, I would not at that point try and attempt a physical activity intervention, at least a high intensity one at that point. But otherwise, if it's you're in the in-between range, I think over time your body will adapt to it. HIT is slightly more tricky for a type 1. It requires a certain building up over time for anyone, but definitely with the type 1. But I think you'll start learning that rhythm over time. So you'll start understanding how your body reacts. Always, when you do any kind of vigorous intensity activity, including HIIT, start with a carb snack and see that you have yourself covered for the period of the exercise. So
Thank
that
you,
way.
Dr. Anjana.
Yeah.
Dr. Anjana, we have another question. So do you suggest anything particular to eat before working out?
So it depends really. Any carbohydrate around 200, 250 grams is what a banana is simply, especially in children, is high in energy, gives you immediate, but anything, I think, a slice of multigrain bread or whatever it is that you are comfortable with, anything that is around in the range of about 200 grams of carbohydrate should be fine.
That makes sense. We have another question from the audience. Is there any difference in sugar values for younger girls compared to the older women?
So in a non-diabetic, it should be within the kind of target range. Obviously, children have lower glucose levels than you would expect. Age increases your glucose levels by a certain amount, but obviously it will be well within the normal range. So if you have a TIR, if you're looking at a sensor over a 24-hour period, you'll find it's very much within the range, whatever age group, if you're non-diabetic. But it would be lower for children than it would be for older adults.
Got it. So we also have a small rapid fire questions that we're going to ask you right now. This is just for fun. So first question, Dettol or Savlon?
Based on what?
No, it's just rapid. It's just
rapid fire. Savlon.
It's just
Okay.
Savlon. Okay.
Savlon.
Food or sleep?
Sleep.
Okay. If you were a superhero, what superpower would you think you would like to have?
Flying.
Really? Okay. Are you a person who likes online shopping or shopping in person?
Definitely in person.
Okay.
I have to touch and feel things.
Okay. A T1D's BG level is 45 mgdl. They're unconscious. What would you give them? Glucagon or Glucon D?
Glucon D first.
Okay.
That is amazing. I like that. Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Anjana. And I can say I've seen her dance on video, unfortunately, not in real life, but she's an incredible dancer. And as you saw, the energy that she's presenting with, I've just gotten so many messages saying, oh my God, she's literally like on fire right now. So amazing presentation. Thank you so much for doing this with us.
Pleasure, Jazz. Thank you for having me.
And of
Thank
course,
you for
our
listening.
pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Sanjana?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so moving ahead, we have our second speaker for today. His name is Sahil Om Madan, and he's based in Delhi, and he's a certified coach for a type 1 diabetic. He founded a Fuse training, which focuses on fitness and a deep understanding of nutrition and technique, with keeping type 1 diabetes in mind. He's taking his knowledge and passion for fitness and sports and fusing that with his understanding that is required for training and successfully as a type 1 diabetic as well. He's working one-on-one with individual clients and hosting workshop for group trainings. So today he'll be talking to us about fitness first. So let's welcome Sahil to start off his talk for today.
Thank you, Sanjana. I hope you guys can see the screen. I'm just sharing that.
We can see it. Yes.
Okay, super. So as Dr. Anjana has already established, like what is the importance of physical activity or exercise in as a type 1 or as a type 2, I will just share few tips and explain why what we are doing right now, the fitness part, the sports part, why that is not working for a type 1. So I will focus on that, and feel free to ask the questions and whatever doubts you have. Okay, so I have divided this presentation into two parts. So one is fitness and sports, and the other part is, of course, how to do that with type 1 diabetes. Okay, so first, what is fitness? So in India, we basically have a confusion between health and fitness. So a lot of people say they are very healthy, they are very fit, but there is a difference between being healthy and being fit. So first thing is health. So how can you say a person is healthy? So the first part is absence of a disease. Okay, I am a non-diabetic. I don't have any other chronic illness or anything. So I will say I am healthy. I cannot say I'm fit. Now, what is fitness? Fitness is basically the performance of your heart and lungs, that is cardiovascular, your muscle endurance, your strength, your flexibility and body composition. So these are the parameters that define fitness. And this fitness can be of different level. So I am at a particular level of fitness. Some other person might be at a different level. So here we have the difference between health, being healthy, and being fit. Then a lot of people say that they don't have a profession related to sports or fitness. So how do they prepare for that? Or maybe if they want to do just normal daily routine work, how will this physical activity will help them? So first, there are two types of preparedness, or you can say exercises or skills. First is GPP, that is general physical preparedness. This is basically for the people who are not into the profession of fitness or sports. They just want to improve their fitness for daily activities. For example, you want to work at your home, you want to lift something, you want to work in the office where you have to lift some heavy stuff, or just normally you have to lift something from the floor. So you require a particular level of fitness to do that. So that is general physical preparedness. Then comes sports specific preparedness. So this is basically for professionals. So a person who is into cricket might require different preparation from the person who is playing football or doing powerlifting. So that we have to define where exactly we are focusing on either we are into GPP or SSP. So first, this is the first part of starting any activity or fitness. You have to see your goal. Okay, where am I standing and what I have to do next. Then comes the second part of course, how to train being a type 1 diabetic. So there are few things that you need to focus on when you want to start any physical activity. First point is pre-workout sugar levels and meal. Okay, so for example, let's take an example. If we want to start running, what we have to do? First, before having a run session, we have to check our blood sugar levels. What are our levels? Either they are in a good range, maybe let's say 100 to 150, or if they are above 250, then you can't start any activity or training at 250. So you have to correct that. So pre-workout levels and of course the meal. So for example, you have to run for 1 hour. So the pre-workout meal will help you give energy for the next 1 hour or 2 hours, whatever you want to work out for. So pre-workout sugar levels and pre-workout meal is very important. Then doing any physical activity, people face a lot of hypers. So how to deal with that? So before starting any of the exercise, we have to see what was the last time we took the rapid acting insulin? That is onboard insulin. That means how much insulin currently I have in my body, because that will affect your blood sugar levels while doing the activity. So you have to check on that. Let's take an example. If we want to start weightlifting, okay, and I have taken 5 units of insulin just before the workout. So there is a chance my blood sugar will drop in the workout because I have taken the insulin just before the workout. So onboard insulin is the amount of insulin that is in your body at the time of training. So you have to take care of that. Then type, duration and intensity of the training. 99% of the people don't focus on that. Okay, if they have to run, they will do the same thing. If they have to weight train, they will do the same thing. If they have to dance, they will do the same thing. But different type of exercises actually impact our sugar levels differently. So that is the type of training that you are doing. Either you are doing weightlifting, resistance training, running, HIIT. Then duration. If you are doing the activity for 30 minutes or 1 hour or 2 hours, so that will affect your blood sugar levels. And then of course the intensity. So when you are doing a steady state walk, like a marathon training for 2 hours, then the intensity is less, but the duration is long. So you have to adjust the insulin and meal accordingly. Otherwise, when you are weight training, so that is a very intensive workout for a short period of time. So you have to change the insulin and meal accordingly. Then when you are going for any activity or any of the workout, you have to understand, this is not the diabetic part, but what is your current strength and endurance. For example, you have to work out in the evening after your work. So you worked for 10 hours that day, and now you want to train. So your strength level or your endurance level will be different because you have worked complete 10 hours that day. Now you want to work out. So you have to see that also. You can't always push your body, because if you put extra stress on your body, your sugar levels might spike. So you have to take care of that. There are days when I also feel like I can't work out that day because I'm tired. So either you reduce the intensity or you can skip or rest that day. So that is very important. Then dehydration part. A lot of people don't drink enough water, or while training or like in overall day. So that is very important, because when you are dehydrated, there are very high chances that your sugars will spike up in between the workout and out of the workout as well. So dehydration is a very important part for type 1 diabetics. These are few of the factors that affect our blood sugars while training. There are a lot of more factors, but these are the main factors that you can keep a check on. So what we have discussed right now is, so the 2 points. First is the fitness part, that is for non-diabetics as well. This is a general thing. Then how to deal with type 1 diabetes when you are combining both fitness and type 1 diabetes. Then what type 1 diabetics generally overlook. That so I have trained a lot of type 1s in sports or fitness, and mostly I have seen they overlook these things. First, if I say, okay, first is maintaining good blood glucose numbers during the activity. So when you are performing the activity, you have to maintain good blood sugar numbers. People, of course, they do check pre-workout and post-workout, but they skip the mid-workout part. So when before using the FGM, that is Freestyle Libre Pro, I was checking my blood sugars with the glucometer. So for example, one day I went for the workout. So my pre-workout was, for example, was 100, and post-workout what was around 120, 130. But so for few years I thought, okay, in between the workout or after the workout, my blood sugars are normal, but it wasn't. So when I started using the FGM, that is Freestyle Libre Pro, so then I saw, like, while training, after checking the pre-workout thing, when I started the workout, my blood sugars actually spiked. They went to 200, 250, but as I was working out for 1 hour or 1.5 hours, it came down and my post-workout blood sugars were normal. So you have to check the mid-workout part as well. Then combination of right mindset, diabetes management, exercise and nutrition. I think this is very fundamental part of starting any activity or living with type 1 diabetes. So with mindset, I meant, okay, you can do any type of workout. You can run, you can do resistance training, you can do Zumba. But first you have to check what your body needs. So if I have to gain some muscle mass or gain some weight, then I have to design my training accordingly. So if I have to gain muscle mass, I can't run every day. So I have to mix aerobic, anaerobic, resistance training. So that has to be your mindset. You just can't run all days, or you can't do resistance training all days. So you have to be in the right mindset of adapting to the training. Then of course, diabetes management. For example, if you're doing very good training, that is running or weightlifting, but your diabetes management is poor, you won't be able to see any results. Exercise, as I always said, like you need to have an efficient training plan. Then nutrition. So with exercise, nutrition is also important, and for type 1 diabetics, it's more important because you have to carb count, you have to see your macros, you have to see your micros. So these are the 4 fundamentals that you need to work on. So you have to take them together. So if you miss on diabetes management, but you work on exercise, nutrition, then also you won't be able to see the results. So you have to take all these 4 parameters all together. Then self-analyzation of the lifestyle, of your lifestyle. So a lot of times I have seen people follow a specific routine, and when they have any problem in diabetes management or exercise, they just go to the doctor or their trainer, and they just tell them, okay, I have my blood sugar are raising, or I am not able to gain weight or lose weight. Before that, you need to analyze what you have changed in your lifestyle. Like, for example, one day you are training in the morning at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. The next day, you are training in the afternoon. So post-workout, your insulin sensitivity is increased. So after that, so for example, when you were working in the morning at 6 a.m., so when you are injecting for the breakfast, your insulin sensitivity will be increased. So you have to inject your insulin accordingly. Or if you are working in the afternoon, then for lunch, your insulin sensitivity will be increased. So you have to adjust your insulin. So you need to analyze what you are changing in your lifestyle regularly and adapt accordingly.
2 minutes.
Then, sorry?
2 minutes left.
Yeah. Okay. So then, of course, I have already shared about type and duration of the activity. then adjusting the insulin requirements on non-active days. So when you are working out, your insulin sensitivity is increased. So you have to change your basal on the days when you are not training. For example, rest days or Sundays. So you have to adjust your basal accordingly. Then there are some safety measures that you need to take care of. So how to treat hypos. Then whether you are using glucometer or CGM or FGM. Then before starting any of the workout or any supplementation, always go for fitness screening. Get your kidneys KFT test, LFT test, or your body composition test, and then tell that to your coach and see how he gets back. Also, when you are training with any of the coaches, just tell them everything about your condition, about type 1 diabetes, because I have struggled a lot with when I was not a coach to find a trainer who knows about type 1 diabetes and train me with type 1 diabetes. So it's very important to tell your coach or trainer about your condition. Then a very important point is bro science. So for people who are regularly going to the gym, there will be a lot of advices, a lot of things from non-diabetics. They will say, okay, you can eat this supplement, you can exercise for 2 hours. Don't ever fall for that. It's very dangerous because they will push you to do 2 hours of exercise, but they don't know how your blood sugars are behaving within that activity. So get knowledge through a proper source who understands fitness as well, fitness sports, and also the condition, your type 1 diabetes. Otherwise, either you won't be able to manage the fitness part or you won't be able to manage your blood sugars. And because of that, your results will be affected. So, this is some pictures about my story. So I was diagnosed in 2011 when I was 20. I'm 29 now. And so this is the picture 2011 when I was in DKA. And this is like my current picture. So I have heard a lot from a lot of people that type 1 diabetics cannot weight train, they can't do powerlifting. I think any type 1 can do any of the exercise, keeping your blood sugar levels in control and following the right fitness sciences. So my message through my story or my presentation is you have to follow a particular science behind fitness, sports, and type 1 diabetes. Then only you will be able to see the results. Yeah, thank you.
Wonderful points, Sahil, and thank you for sharing your story. I think it's very important for all of us to see the before and after, and you've obviously come a long way. It's really great. One quick question for you.
Yeah.
What is that one top tip that you would give a T1 who wants to start exercise?
I think the first thing is to monitor your blood sugar levels. So pre-workout, mid-workout, post-workout. When you understand your pattern, so my pattern of blood sugars is different and yours is different. And my goals are different and your goals are different. So you need to understand what you require. And then you see your blood sugar pattern. Okay, if I am eating a banana, that whether it is spiking or not. So first, when you have that pattern, then you can adjust your insulin levels, your exercise and everything.
Correct. Thank you.
Going on to that point, we've got 2 comments that have come saying, very inspirational, Sahil. What an amazing transformation.
Thank you.
From my mother.
Okay.
Go ahead, Sanjana.
Yeah, I think that was a great talk because I myself see that, there's a difference when you tell your trainer that you have type 1 diabetic and they curate a specific, workout for you. We have a bunch of questions coming in from the audience. So there's one person asking if you can suggest some exercises that is for a type 1 diabetic who is pregnant. Could you suggest?
Who is pregnant?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think also it depends the month of pregnancy you are in. But of course, you can start with the basic stretches. Don't go for, also it depends whether you are into a fitness lifestyle before or not. I am assuming you are not into any of the fitness lifestyle. So just start with the basic stretches. That will help you in terms of your pregnancy as well, and do it under a supervision. Don't start by YouTubing it and then starting the exercise. Take proper guidance and then start. It will be basic stretches. And if you are from a fitness background or you are into fitness before then, of course, that is a different part.
Okay. Another question is how to manage diabetes and a career in football.
Korean football. Okay. So as I said in my PPT as well, so football is under sports specific preparedness. So it requires different skills than weight training or than playing cricket. So first part in that is, of course, you have to manage your diabetes with that. So focus on managing good blood sugar numbers and try to get a pattern. So there are specific drills in football that you need to do for playing it further. So focus on the pattern when you are doing that drills, how your blood sugar is fluctuating, and then adjust accordingly. Also, with football, being a type 1, you need to do a lot of aerobic exercise as well and anaerobic resistance training as well, because that will help you get a better insulin sensitivity.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have another very interesting question, which is a person says, I'm a vegan and not having good protein, or source, they have a source of vegan diet. Is there any good plant-based protein powder available to take on a daily basis?
Okay, I get a lot of questions about supplementation, I think. But again, I believe in that, like, it depends. So supplementation is required when you are deficient of anything. For example, protein supplement are required when you're deficient of protein in your daily diet. And second important thing is whether you are competing in specific any sport or you are just maintaining your physique or just doing it non-professionally. So if you're doing it non-professionally, then I won't suggest any of the protein supplement. Even if you are vegan, there are a lot of options that in the market that you can take for completing your protein diet. But if you are competing in any sport or weightlifting or anything, then you need to supplement. There are a lot of different plant-based proteins. I think Ace Blend is there, then Oena is there that I have used. So that depends on your lifestyle, whether you are you are competing in any sport or not. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll save the other questions for the panel discussion because a lot of questions have poured in. So,
Okay.
Sanjana, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, so we will have a quick rapid fire round with you as well. It's just for fun. So quickly, do you prefer jogging, running, or walking?
I think none of these. I prefer powerlifting.
Okay. Low carb or keto?
Low carb. Low carb.
Okay. What is that one sweet that you hate the most?
Sweet.
Yeah.
I think I like all the sweets. I have a sweet tooth, so I can eat anything. Yeah.
What's your favorite Bollywood dialogue?
Bollywood dialogue.
Yeah.
So I like to watch a lot of inspirational movies or sports documentaries, and Bollywood doesn't have that. So, but there are a lot of dialogues in sports documentaries that I like. There is few from Game Changers as well. Like I don't remember the exact dialogues, but yeah, it says like if you want to have the if you want to have the results like you have thought of, then you have to work for it daily. So I will translate that in Hindi. Like अगर आपको कोई चीज चाहिए, then you have to work it for daily. Like आपको रोज उस पे काम करना पड़ेगा, because अगर आप एक दिन उसे छोड़ते हो और you skip a day, then you won't be able to reach that.
Yeah,
Another dialogue is Chak De India.
Chak, yeah, but yeah.
Okay, Sanjana, let's go ahead to the next speaker. Thank you, Sahil. That was very, very nice.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Sanjana.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye. So our next speaker is Rohan Arora. He's doing something that is like very close to what I do. He's a UX researcher by profession. He leads the Pune chapter at Blue Circle Diabetes Foundation. He has had type 1 diabetes for like almost a decade now, and he's a very, very creative person. He enjoys painting and poetry. So today he'll be talking to us about food math. Let's welcome Rohan, and let's have his presentation.
Hi everyone. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
All right. Thanks, Anjana, and big thanks to Jazz and Diabesties for inviting me to speak today. Today I'll be speaking about food math. Let me just bring that up. All right. So I've been diabetic since a decade, and initially I was very bad in my sugar management, and none of the doctors told me to do carb count, right? They always told me, "Acha, insulin dose upar kar lo, niche kar lo," right? And very later on in my after getting to know all the communities, I got to understand about carb counting, and today I'll be talking about it. But first, let me talk about food. So cars need petrol fuel to run, right? And our bodies need food to run. But the question comes, why do we eat the foods we do? हम लोग वो खाना क्यों खाते हैं जो हम खाते हैं? And these are the various reasons. Like I said, for survival, for personal taste, we have certain family preferences, cultural influences, emotional reasons, health concerns, societal pressures, convenience, and cost. Also, if you look, we tend to eat food as reward. स्पेशली हमको बचपन में बोला जाता है अच्छा तुम पास होगे तो चॉकलेट मिलेगा ये काम करोगे तो you'll get this to eat. So we also associate food as a reward. We also tend to binge eat while we are stressed, right? टेंशन में स्ट्रेस में हम ज्यादा खाते हैं हम जंक फूड खाते हैं. We also tend to eat when we celebrate. केक खाते हैं बर्थडे पार्टीज में, वेडिंग्स में you must have seen a lot of rich in fat food and lot of sweets. So these are the associations that we have with food. Then we tend to eat for convenience and speed, not health. जैसे सबने लाइन सुना होगा, मम्मी भूख लगी है, she's like बस 2 मिनट. So it's all about speed and convenience. Then we tend to eat for reward as well. Like this famous ad, like कुछ खास है हम सब में, क्या स्वाद है, like there's something special that we need to reward. We also tend to eat for taste. मेरे को कुछ अच्छा खाना है आज, want to eat something nice. So Hippocrates was the father of Western medicine, and he said that food is the best medicine. Uh, if you want your body to function well, then you have to eat nutritious food. आपका digestive system अच्छा रहेगा, and you will be in a better health if you eat good food. How to do that? So you have to find non-food ways to treat yourself. So what I do is that I have a playlist. Like when you want to treat yourself, you can listen to your favorite song. So उस point पे you can avoid eating that particular food that you do. And rather than celebrating with food, we can celebrate our resilience. Celebrate our ability to take good care of yourself as a moment of self-empowerment. Also, we have to practice to delay instant gratification. So we are taught that acha, you have to be patient, you have to study hard, you have to wait for results, right? And instant gratification में उसी time पे हमको कुछ चाहिए. So practice delayed gratification, that will help us all in better management. Then coming to carbohydrate counting, why should I do carbohydrate counting? Like बहुत लोग आके बोलते हैं कि क्यों करें carbohydrate counting? So from all the foods that we eat, right, हमारा insulin dose बराबर रहता है. Doctor tells us okay 6 units or whatever units सुबह शाम इतने टाइम लेना है, but our food is not the same, right? किसी दिन I'm eating a sandwich, someday I'm eating something else, किसी दिन मैं चीज खा रहा हूँ. So if our food differs, we have to adjust our insulin dose as well. And to do that, we have to become aware of what we are eating. And basically, what do we eat? Carbohydrates, protein, and fat, the three macronutrients which form our food. And this is a very interesting chart that I want all of you to focus on. The red line is the carbohydrate line, and we have the time in hours and the blood sugar. So when you eat carbohydrate, it spikes the most. ये 1 hour में spike करता है and then it falls. Protein spikes after 1 hour, but then it's a less of a spike and थोड़ा delayed है. Fat does not affect your blood sugar so much. Fat आपका normally रहता है. So what we want to cover here is the biggest spike that you see from carbohydrates, right? उसी के लिए हम bolus लेते हैं. वो जो jump है blood sugar level में उसको cover करने के लिए. So let us look at these 2 hours जब हमारा कार्बोहाइड्रेट से बहुत ज़्यादा स्पाइक हो रहे हैं. So here, these are the 2 hours that you see, and some of the food items I see here spike my blood sugars more. Chips, biscuit, cakes, ice cream, rice, potatoes, right? Watermelons, white bread, and some carbohydrates are there which don't spike it so much. Vegetables, lentils, whole grain bread, oats, oranges. So why is that? Why do some foods spike so much? And so the foods that you see on top, the red line, are the high glycemic index, high GI foods, and the food in the green line are the low GI foods. Let us look at what is GI. So GI is the glycemic index. It's actually how much your food will raise your blood sugars by. So glucose has a GI of 100, and as you can see here, different foods have different GI, how much they will raise blood sugars by. Broccoli is 15. I can see carrots is 39, watermelon is 72. So, like previous speaker said, we want to avoid that roller coaster in blood sugars, right? So we want to eat something which will be more manageable. We want to eat more of the low GI foods. So if you eat broccoli, that will be better rather than eating carrots because that might spike a lot. So you have to mix and match and see what is best for you according to the GI. So now coming to calculating the carb ratio. This is the formula and you can take a screenshot of this and you can calculate with me as well while I'm doing it right now. How many carbs for 1 unit insulin? कितने कार्बोहाइड्रेट कवर होते हैं 1 यूनिट इंसुलिन से? The formula is 500 divided by my total daily dose. 500 डिवाइड करा पूरे दिन में टोटल यूनिट इंसुलिन कितना लिया मैंने. टोटल यूनिट इंसुलिन में आपका बेसल और बोलस दोनों आता है. दोनों को ऐड करके आपको अपना टोटल डेली डोज निकालना है. और सेंसिटिविटी फैक्टर का ये फॉर्मूला है. सेंसिटिविटी फैक्टर है क्या? 1 यूनिट इंसुलिन विल लोअर ब्लड शुगर बाय. 1 यूनिट इंसुलिन मेरा ब्लड शुगर कितना कम करेगा? 1700 डिवाइडेड बाय माय टोटल डेली इंसुलिन. 1700 डिवाइडेड बाय पूरे दिन की इंसुलिन. अगर आप एक्ट्रापिड यूज करते हैं तो आप यहाँ पे 1500 यूज करेंगे. बाकी इंसुलिन के लिए आप 1700 यूज करेंगे. So this is the insulin to carb ratio and this is the sensitivity factor. अब मैं अपना एग्जांपल लेके बताता हूँ. मेरा टोटल डेली डोज है, मैं ब्रेकफास्ट में 2 यूनिट लेता हूँ, लंच में 4, डिनर में 4 और करेक्शन डोज मेरा 4 यूनिट्स रहता है. तो जैसे पहले स्पीकर ने बोला था, मैं दिन में 8 बार एमडीआई से इंजेक्ट करता हूँ एंड मैं पंप पे नहीं हूँ. सो आई मेक श्योर दैट आई इंजेक्ट एंड आई मेक श्योर आई कीप माई ब्लड शुगर्स इन कंट्रोल. तो almost 8 injections and you should also do that to make sure that you have good sugar management. बोलस मेरा टोटल 14 हो गया, बेसल 16 हो गया, तो टोटल दिन में 30 यूनिट्स. इंसुलिन टू कार्ब रेशियो हुआ 500 डिवाइडेड बाय 30 विच इज 16.6. सेंसिटिविटी फैक्टर हुआ 1700 डिवाइडेड बाय 30 विच इज 56.6. तो आप भी ऐसे कैलकुलेट कीजिए, देखिए कि आप पूरे दिन में कितना ले रहे हैं. थोड़ा बहुत डिफरेंस रहेगा, आप उसका एवरेज लिख सकते हैं और अपना आईसीआर कैलकुलेट कीजिए और सेंसिटिविटी फैक्टर कैलकुलेट कीजिए. फिर मैं समझाता हूँ आप इसको कैसे यूज करना है. हाउ डू यू वांट टू यूज इट. ऑल्सो यू कैन गो टू द ब्लू सर्कल डायबिटीज ऐप एंड एज यू कैन सी आप कैलकुलेटर में जा सकते हैं. यू कैन सिलेक्ट द मेन्यू, चूज कैलकुलेटर. You can put your daily dose of insulin. You can put which insulin will you use, and it will calculate it for you, ICR and sensitivity factor. There are also other cool features which Nupur had also talked about the app, and you can download it from the Apple Store or Play Store. So, abhi we have talked about ICR and we have talked about sensitivity factor. Now, how to apply this? So, I have taken एक जो typical Indian meal रहता है. We have 3 rotis, we have dal, we have potato sabji, we have salad, right? So rotis typically have 15 grams of carb each. Dal has around 25 gram carbs and potato sabji has 20 gram carbs. Salad में 5 gram carbs रहता है. तो ये total हो गया 95. तो मेरा ICR 17 है, तो 1 यूनिट इंसुलिन 17 कवर करता है, तो 95 के लिए आई नीड अराउंड 6 यूनिट्स. और ये 6 यूनिट्स I am taking when my sugar is in range. So when I am at 100, 110, I would take this. If I am at say 200 or 250, अगर मैं 250 पर हूँ, तो my sensitivity factor is around 56 here. So I'll take 3 units 250 से अराउंड 100-150 पे आने के लिए मैं 3 यूनिट्स लूंगा और खाने के लिए मैं 6 यूनिट्स लूंगा, तो टोटल मेरा 9 यूनिट्स हो गया है. सो दिस यू हैव टू कैलकुलेट कि आप किस ब्लड शुगर रेंज पे है. बिफोर मील्स यू हैव टू चेक योर, यू हैव टू मॉनिटर योर ब्लड शुगर्स एंड सी कि हाउ मच डोज डू आई नीड, सेंसिटिविटी फैक्टर और आईसीआर को ऐड करके. And salads have 20 grams, so I would just put 1 unit. So you can see the difference between a very high carb meal, a very low carb meal, and that you have to see how much insulin do you want to take.
2 more minutes left.
Yeah. So coming to the labels, right? Pehle I used to eat a lot of ketchup with all my meals, and per serving ketchup, later I realized when reading all the labels, per serving has around 5 grams of sugar, right? So be careful of whatever you are eating. You read the labels very carefully. Also, I have taken the example of chips here. Chips ke piche ka, if you see the label, right? This is for 100 grams, and 100 grams may you have around 51 grams of carbs. The chips is only, the packet is only 50 grams. So you have to see ki label mein kitna hai and packet mein quantity kitna hai. See the quantity. So right now this will have around 25-26 grams of carbs. Read the labels carefully. And in the end, I want to just say that carb counting may seem like a little bit difficult, but once you do it for a month, right, you'll get used to it, and this will help you manage your blood sugars very well. Pehle I used to have HbA1c a lot, matlab 8.5, and I used to only change my insulin dose. But when I started changing my carbohydrates, mera kafi kam ho gaya HbA1c in the 6. So follow this and this will help you, and thank you so much.
Thanks, Rohan. That was very insightful and a huge topic covered very quickly. So, what do you think is the biggest food myth, in your opinion?
So biggest food myth is that people say, अच्छा कार्बोहाइड्रेट चाहिए मुझको ताकत के लिए, राइट? ताकत कहाँ से आएगी अगर मैंने कार्बोहाइड्रेट नहीं खाया, which is not true, because as you also know that if you eat enough of proteins and get enough nutrients, you'll get enough power, like enough energy to go through your day. And yeah.
And I'm just asking this because this is the most common question. We all have seen it across all our groups. What is that one factor that you would credit to bringing your HbA1c down? I know you mentioned it came down from
Yes.
8 to 6, but one thing if you could say.
So when I started, मेरे को लो कार्ब बहुत ही वो लगता था कि अरे मैं लो कार्ब कैसे करूँगा, कैसे खाऊंगा. तो what I did was that incremental मैंने कम किया. So I went from 2 rotis to 1.5 roti to 1 roti to half roti. So whatever change you want to do, you make sure that you do it slowly. You check your blood sugars as well. क्योंकि एकदम से कुछ किया, you'll feel that, oh, my blood sugars are fluctuating so much. Do it slowly, and it will take time, but be patient, and this will be beneficial to you.
Thank you, Rohan.
Thank you.
Okay, Rohan, so quickly we're going to have a small rapid fire round with you. It's just for fun. So if type 1 diabetes was an emoji, what emoji do you think it would be?
Yeah, type 1 diabetes is challenging, but once you take control of it, you can do anything you want and enjoy your life.
Yeah, that's true. So what's the most bizarre nickname that you have got until today?
Nickname. So my name is Rohan. People call me Rota hai. So Ro is one nickname.
Okay. Do you prefer classical art or modern art?
I prefer classical art because you get to understand the fundamentals. Then unko change karke you can do your modern art.
Okay. What is your type 1 diabetes celebrity moment that you have had till today?
Every day is a celebrity moment, I would say, that celebrate every day.
So thank you so much for doing this.
Amazing, Rohan. That was very, very nice. Thank you so much. And we've got a couple of questions which we'll do in the panel at the end.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Sanjana, go ahead.
Okay, so our last and final speaker for today for this symposium is two really great speakers. One is Paula Chinchilla and the other one is Gavin Griffiths. So Paula is from Costa Rica and she's lived with type 1 diabetes for almost 22 years now, and she was diagnosed during her childhood. Her parents founded the Costa Rica's only diabetes patient association, Asociación de Vida, Following the challenges they experienced as a family, Paula is now a registered pediatric dietitian working for NHS in UK, and she has an expertise in the sports nutrition. Gavin is also from UK, and he has lived with type 1 for many years, and he has had it since young childhood years. Gavin founded Diathlete to support diabetes education through more practical and sociable methods. He has completed over 100 endurance challenges around the world, including running 25 marathons in 1 month. And in 2018, he and Paula as the challenge dietitian. Together, they have actually started a global type 1 program called League of Diabetes. So let's welcome them and have them speak about it. So they're going to talk about
Running on insulin.
Running on insulin.
So they're going to talk about how nutrition and fitness come in together. Welcome you guys. Thank you for doing
Hello,
it.
how are you? Nice to see you there. And thank you for having us. There was some excellent presentations going on there. So it was great to see. We're coming from London in the UK, and hopefully we'll get our screen shared. A bit of light behind me.
Yep, we can see your screen.
Okay. Great. So yeah, there we are. And thanks for that introduction. So yeah, my name is Gavin. I have lived with type 1 diabetes for just over 20 years. And I founded Diathlete as something that's now a charity. And similar to actually Blue Circle there, I see our message is to educate, encourage and empower. And I think that's something we share around the world. Coming from our personal experiences with this condition, we do have a power in our hands to make a difference. And first of all, that starts with us. So educate, encourage, empower is our mission here. And we really believe in bridging the gaps between health and care in our cause, because it's every bit as emotional as it is calculated, this condition. And that's how we're taking our steps towards running on insulin. And we'll present really on that challenge, 25 marathons in 1 month, how we work together through our experiences to achieve something.
Yeah, and it is a pleasure for us to be able to be part of this event. And congratulations for all the people that are organizing it, because it's very good.
So about us, you can see a few slides up there, and that is me when I was quite young. So I've always been quite sporty. I've always been somebody who's got a passion for exercise, sports and whatever else, from playing football when I was young. Admittedly, for those in India, I'm not quite the cricketer. So I stuck to more active contact sports, I guess, with football and rugby growing up. And then, of course, going into running marathons, something I've done since 2008, running challenges to crowdfund for various diabetes causes. And of course, having the pleasure to go to India and meet many other people around the world living with type 1 diabetes. That's where we founded the League of Diathletes program. And personally, I think one of my favorite trips, along with Costa Rica, of course, was going to India and meeting the diabetes community there. And I love a good curry. That's a bit personal for me.
Yeah. So, well, as you know, I come from Costa Rica, and I was diagnosed when I was 4, and that motivated me to study nutrition and to be a dietitian and help specifically children and adolescents living with type 1 diabetes. And I really also enjoy sharing my experiences in social media. And back in Costa Rica, my main mission with the association was to educate and create awareness about type 1. And in Costa Rica, compared to the UK, is very different. The education is different. The access to treatment is different. So we have a big mission over there. And one of my main achievements as someone living with type 1 is to create the first diabetes camp. And this is kind of the second camp, but now after 8 years, we have more children and adolescents coming, and I think we're changing their lives. So if you also have any questions about how to create a camp or anything, you can then write to me and I can give you some advice.
So yeah, with diagnosis, you can see some, I'd say reasonably cute, not my sister, but me and Pal there looking reasonably cute when we were younger. So that's me in hospital and being diagnosed at the age of 8. And I think that's where it starts really, that psychological challenge of acceptance to work with this condition and not against it. And that's where I struggled most, admittedly. I think there are volumes in your life, where you face these challenges with this condition, and you have to be on the ball all the time, whether it's exercise or whether it's nutrition or whether it's, just daily life. And I think the biggest challenge for me was coming to terms with wanting to work with this condition, which is something I did not do when I was younger. My first question to the doctor in that hospital when I was diagnosed was, can I still play football? Can I still do the things I love? I'm a big Crystal Palace supporter, so you probably never heard of Crystal Palace, but they're my team, and that was my dream when I was young. And the doctor's answers wasn't too positive, which has motivated Diathlete today. Really, it's something where, because I didn't have that level of acceptance when I was young, because I found the hardships, I didn't really connect well with my condition. So that was the hardest bit, going back to school feeling different, and also being diagnosed and not getting that encouragement with my education.
Yeah, and in my case, of course, no one knew about diabetes. So I was the first one in my family getting type 1 diabetes. So of course, growing up was a bit hard, but we decided to make diabetes as an opportunity to encourage and educate other people, and not as a disease, just as a lifestyle.
So yeah, the challenge that we want to share about is 2018. It was running 25 marathons in 1 month. And why is pretty a good question. Why would you want to do that to yourself? But I'd done 75 marathon challenges, endurance challenges in my life to that point. So we calculated, as we do with diabetes, we become these genius of working things out for ourselves. Well, 25 marathons to go. And I hadn't done a big challenge for a few years at this point. And I decided we needed to do a fundraiser. Having been around the world, met many different communities, we started this program about kind of advocating for the approach towards education with the League of Diathletes. So it needed something to spark it off, something to draw attention to the cause, to raise awareness about type 1 diabetes, and also crucially to raise some funds. And so we planned 25 routes. That was kind of not just the physical challenge, which can be kind of in some ways inspiring for people, but as a community challenge to get people involved. So we reached local schools, like you can see in the picture at the bottom there. We involved local schools to run the first mile. We had local runners, people with diabetes and family members support running different challenges of their own. Local sports clubs were involved, local schools, hospitals, so forth. So it was a big community challenge. And I think that was the heart of it, whilst raising the funds.
And maybe a question that you may ask yourself is, how did you achieve living with type 1 diabetes 25 marathons in a month? So we needed to find out how we can make it safe, because of course, we would not recommend anybody to do 25 marathons in a month to demonstrate that you can do sports with diabetes. That's not necessary. But we needed to find out the way of doing it in a safe way. So I would say that one of the most important things is to plan. Anytime that you would like to do a challenge of any type, you need to plan, and you need to do a lot of trial and error and learning about how the body reacts to different exercises, to different nutrition protocols and treatment protocols. So we needed to plan in advance how much we're going to reduce the insulin, how many carbs per hour. So all of these things was key to make it safe. Also, teamwork. A professional and person with diabetes is very important. For myself, hearing his previous experience, to say, okay, well, in previous marathons, this has happened to me, decreasing the dose by X% worked this way. So then joining it with the research that I did a book about sports and type 1. So I applied the whole book theory to Gavin, to a practical side. So the teamwork was essential. Hydration, definitely, as Sahil was saying about it too. And also the CGM, using a Dexcom in Gavin's case was a safety measure, because I was able to see from my phone as he was running his levels. And as you can see, sometimes his levels were perfect, and on other marathons, starting on the same hour, finishes on the same hour, eating the same things, it was up and down. So it's like, I think the marathons were like life with diabetes. Like, it just, sometimes you do everything perfectly and your levels can go high and low. But the good thing is that we learn from that days, and we can make changes after. And this is an image of the end marathon after, and you can see Gavin is alive, so everything went well.
Made it. Not walking though, not running now, I'm on the floor.
Yeah. And three very important factors is the part of nutrition. Understand that he's a high endurance athlete at that moment, and that we needed to use a lot of sports nutrition science. Also, the energy that he was spending every day, carbs per hour, the glycemic index, um, glucose patterns before marathons, and the recovery was important. Then the insulin, if we want to do a challenge, if we want to do like higher level exercise, we need to understand how the insulin works. If I'm using basal bolus, if I'm using pump, I need to understand the timing. If I injected, how much is that in the body? So all of these things are important to know and understand how it would react in our bodies. And as the previous talk, it's very important to know that the carb counting is essential, but also fats and proteins in the training that make a different effect.
So yeah, there's a lot of factors to consider all round when it comes to life with diabetes, and certainly something as crazy as it was, this extreme 25 marathons in a month. So we had to not just look at the basic diabetes side of it, but also what's going on in the background, what's going on day to day. So for example, the terrain, every day was a new route in a new part of the United Kingdom or Ireland. So it was a complete different landscape. So we had to consider how the big hills were in some routes versus flat grounds on other routes, and how that might impact blood glucose levels and what could happen there. Would we go up or down faster, slower? And combine that with our carbohydrates and our meals.
Then the carb counting, as I was saying, we can see a picture over here when he was having a full Welsh breakfast, which contains a lot of fat, a lot of carbohydrates, a lot of protein. So I mean, we could have counted the carbs well, and it was a plus, but also the fat and protein would affect.
Yeah, so most of the time we wouldn't have had those fatty meals, but I think I'd earned my treat was about 10 marathons in, so I enjoyed that. And other things you see, like temperature. There's a picture of Paola running in the rain. She did get out and run quite a bit. You did all right there. Yeah, a few 5Ks complete. So she did well. And you can see the UK is the most unpredictable place for weather. But we actually had a heat wave. So despite that one rainy picture, we were dealing with about 30 to 32 degree of heat, which was very hot, very humid to start running in and run out for sometimes 10 hours, 11 hours out running. So it was very tough to get through. We had to consider that as well, how that impacts my blood sugar levels.
Then the time of the last bolus, as I was saying before, if he was going to inject at, 7 a.m. at the marathon would start at 1 hour after, 2 hours after, 3 hours after, the impact on the levels would be different, and we would need to do different insulin adjustments. So it's very important also to consider the timing of the insulin.
And yeah, the little things, not just in marathon running, but in your day-to-day life with diabetes, looking at what's going on with yourself emotionally, the motivation, the stress, little things can have actually a glycemic impact. Yeah, nerves. I'm going out to run a marathon, so obviously there's some emotion going on. You can see in the top corner there, we had media interviews such as being live on BBC to about 10 odd million people. So there's nerves going on there that would spike my levels perhaps before the challenge, and then of course going in high, and then have to consider, will I crash quicker when I start running? So little things from emotions to stress going on with the body at the end of the runs as well had an impact on the levels, and we had to consider that.
And also sleep. The fact that sometimes it was hard to sleep because we needed to visit families or do different stuff also affected the levels after, because we kind of register everything that happened during the marathons. But as you can see, all of these factors, like, is impossible to control everything. So when you're doing exercise on a higher level, when you're starting to do it, you need to understand that you want to do what is best and everything that's under your control, but there will be some factors that would affect your end results, and it's important to accept that and to work around that.
I think we average 4 hours of sleep going around and doing these marathons because of the exercise going on, the volume of it. I think I was just unable to shut down, which had an impact. And yeah, how we achieved it in the end, I mean, as Paul said, I'm still here. We did achieve it. And to be honest, looking at my levels during those marathons, at least, I had better levels doing that than I do in my average week or a month. It was the focus on my diabetes was to that level because we knew it was a challenge. We wanted to succeed. So by paying the attention, I think was the key. And that is the key day to day. But the difference is how motivated, and, we're not out running marathons or doing challenges. So we're not always dependent on the eye on the ball, but we are. And that's the psychological difference between day to day life and then, of course, being in a crazy challenge. And that's probably where I personally, even today, struggle a little bit now and then. My levels will go high and low much more than they were when I was paying attention. But as you say, we got there, we got some great results, only 3 quite minor, moderate hypos that happened in the entire month of running. And considering the volume of running we were doing, that's good going. We were happy. And that was the importance of monitoring the blood sugars and working as a team, as a health professional and type 1 and type 1 myself with experience of the challenges. I didn't lose much weight thanks to Paula again, because she kept me on a diet plan. So I think just less than a kilogram after running 25 marathons in a month was lost. So that was pretty good going. We looked at even the insulin didn't decrease that much. I think I showed my body adjusted to the challenge the further we went. And that was a positive, and perhaps also something from experience, the reason my body was used to that as an athlete, doing those challenges in the past. But the biggest thing for me as an outcome isn't about me at all. Yes, we raised the funds, and I think that was important. It kickstarted the League of Diathletes and everything else we've been doing since. But more so, those we reached and got involved. And I think the key message from this is, we reached local sports clubs as big as Anfield in Liverpool, to smaller football clubs like Notts County and Nottingham. So we had lots of engagement with the media, the BBC interview that we mentioned. But more so, we had the involvement of local schools, local hospitals, local people with type 1 diabetes share this in common. 18 of them ran half a marathon, 21 ran a full marathon. The craziest one was this, my actual third cousin, who also has type 1 diabetes. I only met on that day, the last marathon. He was about 13 years old at the time, and he just went the whole distance. I've never seen it. I don't know if it's healthy for a kid to do that, but he was meant to do half a marathon, which I thought was quite extreme. I was saying to him, let's get the first 5 miles, see how you're getting on. His mum dropped out after the first 13 miles. That was her goal. And he just wanted to carry on going. So he had it in him naturally, clearly, to have that level of engine. And I've never seen it. It was crazy. A kid actually did that with type 1 diabetes as well. But in addition, we had other people. And I think the one that stands out, you can see this girl here in the picture, Joss. And so it's not about running marathons. It's not about, having to go out and do something crazy or extreme to prove something. It's about your journey and how you take diabetes like a marathon, if you like, how you take it on step by step. And Joss was somebody with, not just type 1 diabetes, but she has cystic fibrosis, she had a long list of kind of chronic conditions going on, autoimmune more so conditions, going on. And above that, she'd been through depression. She'd been through a lot of the hardship psychologically with the condition. And she'd never ran a marathon before, but she saw me do a talk about a year before. She decided she was going to try and do this route. And it took us 9 or 10 hours even, I think, to get through it. And, there were points where we thought, right, do you want to carry on? And she didn't want to throw in a towel. So we had to monitor her levels as well, what was going on. She had a fear of hypos, and she'd never been for the last few years below 10 millimoles, so 180 in her blood sugar levels. So again, we had to consider that when she was running and look after her. But we wanted to try and get her close to being in range as possible, to be the best. And she got there, just got there. She pushed herself, and you can see that happiness, that emotion on the finish line. And I think that's what diabetes is about, really. Life with an autoimmune condition. It's how willing you are, what you take from the lessons. We say trial and error a lot, but it's actually trial and improve, trial and be inspired and empowered, and trial and keep going. And, sometimes life throws its hardest at you. There's mind, body, and spirit in this, but, you got to just keep going, and then you go stronger the further you go, and you grow more experience the further you go. And I think that's what we saw, not just from me running this challenge, but from Paula as a professional and all these people that got involved. They can do it if you work with this and not against it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and yes, thank you very much for listening to us. And if you want to reach out to us anytime to speak about different topics about diabetes or challenges or stuff, here is our social media so that you can follow us.
Yes, thank you. And thanks for everybody for the amazing slideshows as well.
That was a lovely presentation, and it's wonderful to see you guys, Paula and Gavin, once again. The one thing that resonated with me was when Gavin mentioned about him wanting to run or do 25 marathons, and someone who said, I don't know, was it a doctor, Gavin, who told you that, hey, you don't do this or something of that sort? I went through the exact same thing when I wanted to do my first marathon. One of the doctors I consulted told me, why do you want to do it? And that's exactly what spurred me on to do my first marathon. So, I'm sure each of us will have our takeaways from what you guys talked about today. But quick question for Gavin. What I mean, I know you explained what made you do 25 marathons a month, and I'm sure there are going to be a lot of people here inspired to take up running and, being type 1. What's the one top tip you would give them?
For running or for general trying to get out there?
Just for running, type 1 and running. I mean, you see your presentation, they're inspired to go for it.
Yeah. Well, I would say I'll reverse Spider-Man. So Spider-Man, you might know Uncle Ben, where I don't know if you've seen that scene where he says, "With great power comes great responsibility." It's actually with great responsibility. That's to look after yourself first. Look after your diabetes. Learn from the highs and the lows that happen. Make decisions with the insulin. The things that professionals will teach you as well. Learn from those. Take responsibility for yourself first, and then you get the power to go and, whether it's running 5K, 10K, 1 mile, a marathon, whatever it is, then you get those key lessons to get to the distance. And if it doesn't go to plan, good sometimes, because I learned my hardest lessons were early on when I was running years ago, because I had to learn the hard way sometimes. And that's scary. I know, don't fear it. But as I say, there's trial and error. There's trial and also trial and learning. And I think, getting out there is the first step. And with great responsibility comes the great power. You can get there. Don't lose heart.
Absolutely. Thank you, Gavin. A question for Paula. So what would you suggest as a pre and post workout fuel? This is a very common question that a lot of people ask.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so as a pre-workout, well, it all depends if you're doing which type of exercise, for how long, and what's your last insulin when was your last insulin injection. Let's put an example. Let's say that you don't have active insulin, you had your lunch, and then in the afternoon, you're gonna go and do some Zumba class or something, some Bollywood dancing class. That's a cardio exercise, so you might probably need a little bit more of carbohydrates because you tend to go a little bit lower compared to an aerobic exercise, like doing weights or sprinting. Okay, so I would definitely have some type of carbohydrates and maybe even protein or a little bit of fat to maintain that levels, because if we just have, like, for example, an orange juice, which is a very simple carbohydrate, the body would absorb it very quickly and it would go fast. So probably I would have like a toast with peanut butter or a cereal bar with a little bit of nuts, something that could maintain our levels. And post is always recommended to have a little bit of protein too with a carbohydrate so that you can prevent post hypos. So basically, that's an example of the many options that you can have depending on how the exercise that you're going to do would react on your body. Sometimes you don't even need to eat anything because your levels might go high.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, so we're going to have a quick rapid fire round with the both of you. So do you guys prefer camping or binge watching shows at home?
Camping.
At home.
Okay. Do you like relaxing or exploring?
Exploring.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. Exploring and relaxing after.
Okay, so do you prefer catching a unicorn or staying anywhere within the range?
Catching the unicorn. What?
Like,
what does that
What-
staying,
It's
having 100
milligrams per deciliter. That's called a unicorn.
Okay. So being on top of the
range.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I would say the other. I'd like to try and be in range, but yeah, why not bring unicorns into life?
Well, it's okay. Thank you so much for joining us today. And that was like a really good talk that you both gave. Handing it over to Nupur.
Yeah, I think we thank you to all the speakers who were here, and thank you for that wonderful session. We've got a lot of questions which we will probably direct to you all a little later. But a big thank you to Nupur for being the moderator for that session. Very beautifully done. Thank you, Sanjana, for chairing. And thank you to all the speakers once again. And we will see you all very, very soon.